Greetings, everyone, and welcome to Tattoo. Yeah. What the hell is Tattoo? You're probably wondering. Well, I'm going to let you know right now. First and foremost, I'm going to let you know my name, Mike Trujillo. I am here in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and I am the guy with the Jim Rome tattoo. And I've had that tattoo for, now 20 years, believe it or not. But that is what this show is going to be about. I'd always wanted and had an idea after I got the Jim Rome tattoo to have kind of a coffee table book about tattoos that were like people that had tattoos of other like celebrities or athletes or whatever the meaning of whatever tattoo they had. I always wanted to do that. Well, I never got it done. So this is my kind of sloppier, cooler version of just talking about one's tattoos and why they got it. I'll give you that explanation shortly. It's not a very complicated one, but that's what this show is going to talk about. We're also going to have all kinds of guests. I'm going to bring you a bunch of local guests from our Albuquerque area today on the show, which is really cool. Let me give you the quick rundown. I'm going to have Jeff Berry. He's the marketing manager here at Cumulus in Albuquerque, New Mexico. He runs the stations like News Radio KKOB, and most importantly, the Sports Animal. We're talking about that station quite a bit because we're going to have a couple of guys from there. But Sports Animal, AM 610 and 95.9 FM on your dials here in Albuquerque, knml.com if you want to listen and stream. Got great programming. Jim Rome, local shows, the opening drive, very, very cool station. So we're going to be talking to him. Speaking of more sports animals, we're going to talk to Dale Cornelius and Isaiah Johnson. Quick sports brief from them. They also host a show on the Sports Animal, I should say, and their show airs Sundays at 8 p.m. Then we're going to have an actual clone, one that was a fan during the first four, and that means we, Albuquerque, were one of the first four affiliates for the Jim Rome Show. We're going to get his takes on a few things. He's a musician, and he's a badass, and he's a very cool dude, and I've known him since high school. So that's what we're going to do. We talk about these kinds of crazy shit. You're going to get a little bit of sports, music, variety. I hope this all kinds of works out, and I hope that you have a good time watching the program. All these folks I have on here today are very entertaining, and I got one more very special announcement. We have a musical guest. Yes, we recorded these guys. They're from Albuquerque. They're one of the badass bands, metal, hard rock that you'll ever see, Anesthesia. So we're going to have two musical clips. So just to break up that monotony. So it's like a clone show for clones and everybody else to have a really good time. Now, let me introduce to you my guest to the right. This dude is an all-around badass. One of my best friends here in Albuquerque. He's a Renaissance man, but he's primarily involved in music, and that's how I met him, of course, going to shows, concerts, but he's turned out to be quite the talent agent, booker, whatever you want to call him, promoter across the state, not just in Albuquerque, but across the town, and you've had relationships and a good rapport with several people in the industry, and you've made some waves. And I'm very proud of some of the efforts you do. Festival events, you book at Launchpad, you book at Sunshine, you do all kinds of stuff. Roman Barham, how you doing, man?
Hello, Mr. Trujillo.
What's up, Mr. Trujillo? I told you to be reserved.
It's an honor to be in here, Mr. Trujillo.
Yes.
Thank you for asking me.
You are absolutely welcome. Absolutely welcome. Fucking cool to have you on, man.
Thank you, man.
You are the first guest. Everybody else that I announced will be showing in different segments. So thank you for that.
Cool.
A couple of reasons I wanted to bring you on. First off, kind of tell everybody what you do out here. I kind of gave it to you, the opening intro, but tell us a little bit more in depth.
Cool. I work downtown at some venues here in Albuquerque. I manage at the Launchpad and help manage at Sunshine every once in a while, and at the El Rey Theater. And I used to book a lot of shows. I still help out with some shows in town, so I've been booking for like 20-some years. Been playing music for years in bands. Currently playing with Red Mesa and Scroll and Power Toke and Echoes of Fallen. But been just playing in bands for years and just being a part of the music scene. Go out to festivals all over the U.S. and
so you're basically a bum.
I'm a music bum.
You're a music
You're a
bum.
bum.
No,
You're a music
I don't
bum.
take for granted the things that you do and the knowledge and experience, especially with business and setting up bands and stuff, because that's a very tricky industry.
Yeah,
I
definitely.
don't do it. I don't have the balls to do it, but I thank you, man. So who are the biggest bands that you've ever worked with bringing to Albuquerque from around the world?
Just around the world, like there's like Mars Red Sky. There's the Obsessed,
Oh, yeah.
Green Jelly or Green Jello, and shoot, man, there's just so many people. Because with the fest, there's like bands like Sons of Otis and like the Desert Rock guys and like Mondo Generator, Brant Bjork and all those guys. Those guys are always good. And
The Southern Desert
yeah,
Sound.
Beelzebub.
Uh-huh.
That was
Beelzebub.
cool to have.
Yeah.
It was cool having them from Poland because, you know, they're great guys and just it's just nice working with bands, like just so many different bands and every experience is just so different every day and always keeps you on your toes because every moment's gonna change for the better or the worse.
I hear you. I hear you. Now, you've introduced to me a plethora of artists that I would have not really known about. And I mean, like you're talking some of the Doom, Stoner, but I mean, you've run the gambit as far as not even just having relationships or booking those bands, but you do other genres as well.
Oh, yeah.
You do management at Launchpad. What basically is the state, though, of the Albuquerque music scene as you see it? Not just metal, but the entire scene, because I'll tell you, I believe it's very healthy and it's nice to see.
Yeah, no, it's definitely swung back around after COVID. A lot more bands, a lot more newer musicians playing. So that's really good to see new faces, younger faces. Because I was worried about that next generation because there was so much EDM music and just so much music that wasn't really made by humans. Well, it was made by humans, but with synthesizers and
Right,
DJ
right.
equipment.
You're
but
definitely more a fucking organic
organics.
drums.
Yeah, exactly.
As I am as well.
The DIY scene's blowing up with venues like Ren's Den and Black Wall Gallery. The music scene's doing great because there's, like you said, there's a bunch of genres like from reggae. Like even last night there was like some yacht rock bands.
Oh, yeah.
It was real chill. It was like the feel, the mood, the vibe was good, and then every once in a while we'll do like stand up comics too, and it's nice. It's a nice variety. It keeps it more fun when it's like that, and it's not just
Right.
straight metal every night or straight.
Yeah, no, I've been an observer of the scene for all my life, and this is some of the more. I maybe I'm reading into it wrong, but it's very healthy because I see so many groups,
Yeah.
real bands, and they're not like I said, they're of all genres and real well thought out written music.
Yeah.
And I do see a lot of those bands representing other bands and going
Yeah,
to other
going to other
shows,
shows and-
you know,
yeah,
and
that's
off
what
the
it's
top of my
about.
head, I can name some bands that I really love in Albuquerque. Youngsville is a band
yeah.
like that. I love your band, Red Mesa. There's some really good stuff out there. Of course, Red Light Cameras. There's some
Yeah,
great
yeah.
bands.
And like you said, it's cool to see other bands out there supporting other bands because that's what builds the scene.
Right, right.
Because you can't be in competition. There's friendly competition in music scenes, but there's also bad, and that, and over the years there's been a little bit of bad, but it's been a lot more good lately. So that's good.
Right on, right on. Okay, well, I brought you in here for a reason. When I talked about a coffee table book about Jim Rome, I wanted to, and not about Jim Rome, but about my tattoo being the catalyst for that. And I know there's been thousands of books like that been written and done, and that's cool. I just wanted to add my certain type of input, but I was thinking of how much tattoos of individuals, how many people have tattoos of individuals, of bands, of just things that they like from popular culture. Because you think of tattoos are traditional, they started back, way back then as war paint. Different types of cultures used them for different types of things.
definitely.
But in the last, 25, 30 years, it's really been a thing that, to honor something you love, you usually get a tattoo of it. And I remember I was starting to get tattoos when nobody was getting them. But the thing is, all my generation thought that way, and they all got them. And then subsequently, they raised a bunch of kids with a bunch of tattoos. But when I got my Jim Rome one, man, I was just like out of my mind into that show. And when you know me, when I get into something, I don't get into it half-assed.
Oh,
It's
yeah,
like
I
I
know.
become
Yeah.
obsessed. And it's a little stupid. It's not scary. It's not weird. It's not gross. It's just what it is.
Yeah.
And I became a big fan. And I was originally going to get the size like this. And I thought, you know what? The tour stop's coming. I'll get a tattoo. Yeah, it'll be fucking cool. I got it for no other reason than I just really loved the damn show. It was fun.
Yeah.
I still love it. I never stopped listening to it. So he's still my favorite. And the work he's done and the way he's developed, I mean, it's really top notch.
Oh, that's
He
awesome.
deserves to be a Hall of Famer. But originally, I was supposed to only get it this size, about 2 inches. So the tattoo artist, Leo Gonzalez, he told me, he says, look, man, I'll give you that tattoo, the little size, but it's going to look stupid. It's just going to look like a little man. You won't know who it is. And I was like, oh, really? He said, yeah, in a couple of weeks, it's going to look like some dude. It won't look as detailed. He says, if I get it this size, I get the full detail. And so I had him flipping the bird on the microphone, and something else was changed. But I got the picture from the Kansas City Star when he did the tour stop out there in KC.
Okay. Cool. I was
And
wondering what pose it was.
yeah, so that was a little cartoon character, but finally got it this big, and then before you knew it, I ended up got his autograph on there. So that's, I have several tattoos. I have a Star Trek tattoo. Star Trek's my favorite TV show ever.
Oh, I know.
I got
I know.
metal bands, boy bot. I got Chiefs tattoos. So what I know you have a bunch, but it's 3 that I've always liked a lot. Your Saint Vitus, the band Saint Vitus, the band Sepultura, and then a Misfits tattoo. And briefly tell us why you got each of those. I mean, obviously they're your favorite bands, stuff like that, but there's got to be maybe a deeper meaning, or were you just drunk, or what happened?
Yeah, I guess a little bit of all that rolled into one. Definitely my St. Vitus one, that's a tribute to Vitus, because I've been friends, really good friends with Wino, and that band just always inspired me, and like every era too, even with Scott Ragers and everyone, and that's always just been something I've always wanted and finally got. But my Sepultura one is really cool, because that's like Sabbath and Sepultura are probably my favorite bands. So eventually I'm going to get the Sabbath somewhere, but I definitely wanted this.
You don't have a Sabbath tattoo?
I do not have a Sabbath tattoo.
Damn, I would have figured you would have. I would have figured that might have been. Do you have an obsessed tattoo? Well, the Saint Vitus kind of.
Vitus, yeah.
Can go for that.
Yeah, Vitus is kind of like the Vitus tattoo. I was gonna say it's an all around for Wino, but I would have to get like the Wino tattoo with his like signature.
The
logo.
Sepultura I like because it's all green. It's not the greatest artwork. It looks like it was a kind of a.
Oh, he dug.
Was it an underground kind of guitar string shit?
No, it wasn't guitar string. It was a tattoo, but it was done by my friend Leonard, and he's pretty ghetto. So yeah, it was pretty, and he dug pretty deep.
Ghetto Leonard. That's funny. How old were you when you got your first?
I think I was 17.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was 16. And my dad was pissed. My mom didn't mind so much, but my dad was pissed. And all it was a tiny tattoo, like about that round of the band Voivod.
Oh, yeah.
And it was a terrible guitar string job. But I started getting him more and more, and he didn't like it. We clashed when it came to, appearances, long hair, tattoos, all that shit. But yeah, that was the first one. And like I said, I don't have too many band ones. I have more Voivod.
Yeah.
And then, like I said, I got, this one is a funny one. It says, I love L.A. And I got it after the Randy Newman song. I love the Dodgers.
Oh, yeah.
And I love L.A. I do love L.A. I used to spend my summers out there all the time. So it's cool to talk about kind of the origin of some of them.
Oh, yeah,
do you have any that you regret?
There's one that I don't regret, but it's kind of like, what? Well, like 4 of us. There's like me, Dom, Mole Man, Mikey, and Gooch, Alex. We were just, I don't know, we had like access to tattoos like when we worked at the spot we did, and we got buttholes.
Oh yeah, yeah. I remember that with the butthole. Yeah, man.
But it was funny. My friend,
that's hilarious.
My friend Mole Man, he has a sick tattoo of Wolverine like that, and it's right by the butthole, so it's like ravaging the butthole.
Oh man,
funny.
that is hilarious, dude.
Yeah.
You brought up something perfectly. You must have been reading my mind, because when you mentioned Dom, now that is somebody I would love to interview, because I'm looking for you guys. If you want to get a hold of me, get a hold of me through Facebook for now. Email me at 0hoursquared@hotmail.com, because if you have a story about a tattoo that's rad, like Dom, I know, but Dom. He's a guitar player for Thrall, a few other bands. We know him. I remember that kid.
Torture Victim.
Yeah. And also, man, he used to call my show for tickets. He was a kid.
Oh, yeah.
But he's got the best tattoo, but maybe the worst. It's the worst in terms of it being
The movie
it's
wise.
horrible. It's bad work, but it's the baddest tattoo. It's the witch. It's
Hocus Pocus.
yes,
Bette Midler.
Bette Midler, Hocus Pocus. It's a tattoo of the witch, and
it's really good.
And it's like the way she made that. I don't
really
know where
cool.
he got that, but I'll bring him on and
I
talk to
think
him
Rick
about
did
that.
it. The dude that did my Evil Dead right here. It's Rick Gondola.
Evil Dead, what? Oh, cool.
It's Bruce's wife.
Yeah. Okay. And that Sepultura, that was one I remember seeing you in the early years of those scenes in the slam pit, man.
Oh, yeah.
And I could see that tattoo, and you'd be all big. And I was like, who the hell is that big old stupid fool?
But yeah, he dug, but it stuck pretty good, and it's like he was experimenting with that ink, which is kind of like, what the hell, experiment? I was an experiment.
Well, how many? I got 2 tattoos from an artist that he was on the run from the law. He had a underage girl with him. He had 6 toes on each feet.
What?
And he called himself. I don't even know if I should say his name on the air. I mean, he might come after me. Tinker was his name, and he gave me 2 tattoos: a Voivod one and an Artillery. Remember the band Artillery?
Yeah,
They
Artillery.
looked good for like 2 days, and after that, they just looked bad, man. So you got to be careful with that. That we all have stories of tattoos
I got
like
the High
that.
on Fire 2, Blessed Black Wings.
But I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up, and I want to thank you very much for taking the time to come in and do this. I want to remind everybody again, you can get a hold of me through Facebook, Messenger, email, ZeroHoursquared at hotmail.com. I know that's rigorous, but yeah, let's talk. If anybody out there, if you got a restaurant, if you got a band, if you're in the Albuquerque, New Mexico area and you want on, yes, for sure. If you're from somewhere else, we'll accommodate you, maybe via Zoom, something like that. This is a good little variety show. Again, the premise is tattoos and why we get what we do and what it means to us. And like I said, it's just I'm a damn clone and I love the show. And that's the bottom line. Anyways, I do want to thank my guests on this program who will be coming up. Jeff Berry, a marketing manager at Cumulus Radio here in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Also want to thank Isaiah Johnson, Dale Cornelius. They are both from the Tailgate Time? Is that the name of the show? Tailgate Time on KNML 610 AM and AM 610 or 95.9 FM. I also want to thank Damien Hidon from Texas, from Dallas, Texas, in the Metroplex. Talked a little bit of the Clones, Cowboys, and all kinds of cool stuff like that. And of course, Roman Barham, thank you again, brother. Do appreciate it. I want to acknowledge also Darren White for the use of the equipment, getting to borrow it. Thank you very much. I want to thank Evan. What's Evan's last name? Baker, that's right. And Manny's the only one, man, that's been having to endure all of these, and he does it. And you just gotta love Manny. He rules. So Manny Rosa, that's his last name. So thank you to him as well, and to Andrew Godfrey, who is also our editor in chief for this. Yes, Andrew. So let's talk businesses. If you want on the show, let's get a hold of me. Bottom line. All right. This has been Tattoo. Coming up next, you're going to see and hear from the marketing manager of Cumulus Media here in Albuquerque. And then we're going to treat you to a song from Albuquerque's Sons, Anesthesia, as I want to thank them very much. Jake and that clan kick ass. One of our best, so enjoy them as well. Again, this has been Tattoo. Let's Joining us right now is the market manager from Cumulus Albuquerque, Mr. Jeff Berry. Jeff, welcome to Tattoo.
Hey, man. Thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, man. You've got a lot of history with Cumulus Media and radio and all of that good stuff. So let's just tell us a little bit about yourself, Jeff. How long have you been in the business, all that good stuff?
Oh, my gosh. I got in radio in 1991. I started at this little AM heavy metal station called Z-Rock, which I think you want to talk a little bit about.
Yeah.
And it was in Kansas City. That's where I grew up, which was why I'm a Chiefs fan, which, again, I think you want to talk a little bit about that.
Yeah.
But so I started in Kansas City at this little heavy metal radio station, moved around a little bit as we did back in the day in radio when it was just kind of single radio stations. So I bounced around a little bit. I became a sales manager at the big rock station in Kansas City. It's called 98.9 The Rock. Legendary station. But I moved here in 2006. I kind of headed up the sales department. I left for a couple of years and went to Greensboro, North Carolina, but I loved New Mexico so much when I had a chance to come back, even though I still call Kansas City home. We came back here, and I've been the market manager since 2004. 14.
You also are head of a cluster of channels. There's a number of channels here in the Albuquerque market, two of which I'm very intimate with. The flagship that they call KKOB 96.3 FM, and of course KNML, the Sports Animal, AM 610 and 95.9 FM. Talk to us a little bit about those channels and your involvement and what's going on with them at this point.
It's interesting. When I got here in 2006, again, I always lived in music radio, whether it be a country station or rock stations. I'd never been around talk. So when I became the director of sales over all 7 stations, it was 8 back then. One of the first things that my market manager, Milton McConnell, who was here back in the day, is like, pay attention, one, to KKOB. That's a legendary station. And it wasn't until I kind of started working here that I really understood the power of spoken word, whether it be sports talk or, just talk as we do on KKOB. It really opened my eyes to a whole different piece of radio that I'd never been accustomed to. Again, it was more music driven in the past, and the spoken word, especially these 2 radio stations. Again, KKOB, we celebrated our 100th anniversary a couple years ago. I mean, there's a handful of stations that can say that they've been in the market for 100 years. And it's incredible. And the evolution, I mean, heck, there was a day that they played music, because that was back in the day in the 60s and 50s were AM stations, because there wasn't FM back then. They played music and they did everything. So that station's obviously evolved. And for KKOB in specifics, it's the mouthpiece of New Mexico. I mean, if you want news, we're really it. And then when it comes to the sports animal, you and I have talked about this a lot. I'm a sports fan, but I don't listen as much to sports talk, except when the Chiefs are in, and I love March Madness. And what you find about sports talk is the audience maybe isn't as big as some of the other stations, but my God, they're passionate. Sports listeners are so passionate, and when our talent, when Jeff in the morning, Jeff and JJ and Fred and Van in the afternoon, and obviously Rome during the midday, when we say, hey, come out and do this, people come out because they're just passionate about that station and being able to call in and voice their passion for their favorite teams. With you and me, it's calling in about the Chiefs, but so they're just 2 powerhouse radio stations that I'm so blessed to be a part of.
Yeah, the Sports Animal is amazing, and I first started listening to it when it arrived in Albuquerque. It was around '94. Jim Rome was we were one of the first 4 affiliates.
Yeah.
What's going on with that station particularly? And there was a big announcement recently. Jim Rome made a move. His traditional time slot was 10 a.m. here Mountain, and now it's 1 p.m. I still listen to it at that time when I get a chance. I never miss it. So how has that affected the station? And again, tell us what else is going on with the
So not to get too far in the radio weeds, if you will, but when you have syndicated programming, there's companies that represent them, and they try to get them on as many affiliates across the United States. And again, KNML was one of the first to pick up Rome, but he's got hundreds of radio stations. Well, he changed affiliates to Westwood One. And because of who their lineup currently, they wanted to move him to that new time slot. So we definitely were not going to let Rome go.
Right.
So we just kind of flip-flopped, and we kept both of our talent. We just kind of traded time slots. And I know for people that were passionate about that 10 to 1, I'm sorry, it's not something that we wanted to do locally, but to keep him, that's where we had to air him in the afternoon. So I hope people's listening habits can change and they can follow people like Rome and listen to him and tune in whenever he's on.
You mentioned there's 2 local programs, the morning opening drive with Jeff and JJ. Yep. There's 2 Men On with Fred and Van. Fred Slow and Van. Van Nunley.
Yes.
So how are those? How's everything? The health of the Sports Animal at this time, and what do you foresee in the future happening that you might be able to tell us?
Our size market. Local sports stations don't usually have 2 live shows. They just don't. And so we're blessed. And that's the one thing that I would give kudos to the company we work for, Cumulus. They believe in local and live talent. Yes, we have some syndication. Again, we have Rome and we have Dan Bongino on KKOB. But for the most part, we live on local people talking about local issues, even though, again, you might call in talking about the Chiefs right now. But you know what? We talk about the Lobos and we talk about the Isotopes and we talk about the United. And again, it lets that local audience that, as as you know, by calling into Rome Show, not everybody gets in. It takes
Yeah.
days and weeks to actually get in. Where
Right.
here you can get in the morning, you can get in the afternoon and voice your opinion and your passion for those sports. So we're very blessed to have 2 local shows, a morning and afternoon. Those guys do a great job of cross promoting each other. They're different shows. If you listen, they're very different. They each have their own style, which is exactly what we want. You know, we want we want different shows, so it's not the same all day long. So again, both of those shows do a great job for us, and I see them lasting long into the future.
Nice. One more thing in regards to Jim Rome. That has to be one of the longest affiliate relationships with a syndicated program that I've ever heard in the radio industry. You know more about that than I do, but it's got to be up there.
Yeah, it definitely is. Again, we were one of the first affiliates when he started. And I'll tell you, he was on when I got here in 2006. So he's been on a very, very long time. I wish I knew the exact date that he started. I don't know that off the top of my head. But I will tell you a quick story. When I got here, people talked about the Rome tour when he would come, and he had done an appearance in Albuquerque, and it was out at the amphitheater. It was before I got here.
Right. It was just a year before, I think.
Yeah. So we brought him in a few years later and brought him back, and we did it at Sandia. And again, I don't listen to sports talk as much as maybe some other formats, but I knew he was big until I saw that, and I knew how huge this guy was.
Yeah.
He was a rock star.
Yeah.
When he walked into that ballroom at Sandia, it might as well have been the Who or the Stones or you insert your favorite band. That dude was a rock star. And you know, if you and I have been blessed, we got to meet people behind the scenes. That guy was so gracious. He was so awesome. But after the show, he shook all the station people's hands. We were back in a hallway. He was gracious and just what an awesome human being. So I hope that we can bring him back because I know, again, I think he loves Albuquerque.
Oh, yeah.
And you know, he's just, you know, a couple states over. We can bring him over, and I'd love to do that again because he's just what a great human being.
Now, you mentioned earlier that you started working with Z-Rock.
Yeah.
And you and I, you know how much I love that station.
Yeah.
For those who don't know, Z-Rock was it a nationally syndicated station or program? How did that work out?
So we, in Kansas City, it was on the AM dial. So think about Metal Church and Megadeth and Metallica before the Black Album. I mean, this is early, hard, heavy music that the AOR album-oriented rock stations, which most of us, you know, played more the Tom Petty's and the Doobie Brothers and stuff. Nobody was playing that back then. So Z-Rock played to people like you and me where we just didn't get that music anywhere else. So it was out of Dallas. The guy that started it, he was a legendary program director. His name's Lee Abrams, and he's still, he's not, I don't believe he's in the day-to-day of radio anymore, but I still read articles every once in a while. He'll pop up, but he invented this radio format, if you will. It was out of Dallas, and we got a feed, and we played it essentially live every single day in Kansas City and in a lot of the different affiliates. But what we did there, we actually pulled the satellite down because we had 2 talent. His name was Johnny Dare and Beezer. They were local guys, and they did a local show called Saturday Night Loud. So on Saturday nights, we did a 3-hour local program. We played local bands, but also, again, just give us an opportunity to tie in with the community. And over the course of time, they started doing an afternoon show. And when, you know, bigger radio companies came in, unfortunately, they wanted to put, country was huge. They wanted to just simulcast it on both stations. So that afternoon show moved over to that rock station that I mentioned earlier, 98.9 The Rock, and they're still there today. They do mornings today. So they started at this little bitty AM heavy metal station on Saturday night, and now they rule Kansas City in the mornings.
That's awesome. That Z-Rock was so cool. They used to play bands I never thought I'd hear on there, like Killing Joke, and then you could hear when Jackal first came out. And I know you have a relationship with Jesse James Dupree. You brought him in here one day, and I got a chance to meet him. But that was such a very special time. That was when heavy metal was pretty much at its peak. So all these bands were coming out from all over the place, but there were these kind of underground bands being played up on there, like Killing Joke, or like Prong had got started around that time, and they would play that stuff. So it wasn't just the heavy hitters; it was a bunch of other bands that were kind of growing. And that to me, nationally like that, when people would tell me, "Hey, have you heard Z-Rock?" It was really cool. I think I even still have a bumper sticker of Z-Rock.
It's too loud. You're too old.
It's the one.
Yeah, we had those. I'll tell you a quick story about Z-Rock. We didn't have any budget. We were again a little bitty AM station. So, but this is back in the day when artists would still come by because we didn't have a budget. We had artists that would come to the station, Xerox their face, and we had a wall of these pictures of people that with their face Xerox. So the biggest band that came in that we got them to do it, we got Gene and Paul from Kiss to come in.
Uh-huh.
But when you look back, the people that were nobody, that became somebody, Eddie Vedder, Pearl Jam came into the studio, but nobody knew who they were.
Right.
So we had all of these people come in, Xerox their face, and put them up on a wall because that was our budget.
Oh, that's cool.
And when you're asking guys to go, hey, I know you're in town to tour. Would you put your face down it? And so we had that, but it was such
That's
a cool,
classic.
it was just a cool little environment. It was small but mighty, if you will.
Right.
Like if you were a Z-Rock in the Z-Rock army, you had dog tags,
Yeah.
and people wore those proudly, you know. But you're right. The bands that I was introduced to that just wasn't played, like Ministry, and you know,
Yes.
that's how I was introduced to those kind of guys, and Anthrax, and bands that again just wasn't played.
Right.
That you go, oh my God. But I'll tell you one quick story. I walk in the studio one day, and there was an album hanging, you know, they'd send promotional stuff, and there was an album with a baby in the water floating. And it's like, who the hell is that? And they're like, these guys named Nirvana. We don't know, but we got this promotional thing. So we started, you know, we broke bands like Nirvana and Pearl Jam before anybody ever did. And it was just, again, it was such a special station because you were introducing people to music that just, they wouldn't have gotten had it not been for Z-Rock.
It was a great opportunity for a lot of artists like that would have never probably ever been played on the radio.
Right.
Killing Joke. I only seen Killing Joke on MTV back in the day. And I listened to them in their punk years, and they were just so underground and weird and everything. You never thought you'd hear them on a syndicated radio show, but they had some really great material. Z-Rock was not just a station; it was a phenomenon. I thought,
Yeah, absolutely.
For a period of a few years, it was like kind of the hottest thing, and everybody was into it. So that was really cool.
Yeah.
Look, you talked about being from the Kansas City area. The Chiefs, man. You and I became a Chiefs fan in 1989. I could have picked anybody. I could have picked the Raiders, the Broncos. When you're living in a small town like this, you adopt a team. It's not like we had the fortuity of having a team embedded. So the Chiefs, you know, as soon as Derek Thomas gets drafted in, Marty Schottenheimer, you had their GM that came over from Philadelphia, changed the face of that team, and I really loved them. And I just kind of globbed onto them, started going to Kansas City, but now we're living this massive dream. It's almost like this is the greatest thing since sliced bread. What are your thoughts on what the Chiefs have been doing these last few years?
Well, you know what? I obviously growing up in Kansas City, I've been around the Chiefs my entire life, and I'm 57 years old. We had some lean years there. There was times you could walk up and get a ticket. You know, but I've always been a fan. You know, they've just been a staple in Kansas City for so long. The Hunt family, you know, they are Kansas City, born and bred, if you will. So they've been there forever. And you know, again, that team over the course of many years, a lot of times, you know, I know it's hard to think of Kansas City as a small market, but when you look at it really is a small market compared to a lot of other NFL or NBA teams or Major League Baseball teams. So when you have a Royals win a World Series that comes out of nowhere, and that's happened a couple times.
Started,
you know, in '85, you know, we're like, oh my God, we won a World Series, you know, and they did it, you know, 10 years or whatever ago. But the Chiefs, it was always just a struggle, and they've gotten better and better. And you get to this time, you're like, oh my God. We're in the Super Bowl, you know, we you know, and granted that we were in the kind of the first Super Bowls back in the 60s, but it's been a long, dry stretch. So it's so, as a fan, I just feel blessed that I get to think about a team. You know, I'll tell you a quick story. You know, we had I guess 2 losses, but the one real loss that we had in the middle of the season, my son and I were watching the game, and it was like, oh my God, we lost. You know, there's a lot of people feel that way every single week. We're just so blessed that the team's so good and they continue to win and win and win. It's just we're feeling what a lot of people do all the time, man.
Look, I'm a Chicano. I should have picked the Raiders. Probably everybody tells, why'd you pick the Raiders? Everybody, I was like, no, man, I don't like the culture of that team. I like the way Kansas City did. It was Carl Peterson was the general manager back then from Philadelphia. He brought over this really winning attitude, but we lived the heartbreak of the Elvis Gerback years and being that close to getting over the hump and getting to a Super Bowl and watching Denver win and all of this other stuff. And then there was even the weirder, uglier, leaner years with Todd Haley, where we won only 2 games, and Javon Belcher and all this horrible stuff. And I'm like, I'm staying the course. I love this team. And then a shining bright light, Patrick Mahomes, just out of nowhere, blesses our team. This is a once in a lifetime thing for any franchise or for anybody that's involved. Enjoy it. There's going to be the haters. There's going to be this, that, and the other. If you have all of that, your team's doing something right.
Mahomes, obviously I've lived here through his tenure. I wasn't back home, but I go back to Kansas City a few times a year. That town loves that guy. And not just because of what he does on the field, what he does off the field. That guy lives in Kansas City. He supports Kansas City and Kansas City causes. So he is so ingrained in that town. He's just from my knowledge, just a good human being, So he's great for that market. I'll tell you a quick story of how kind of all this comes together. Up until my 20s, I'd never been to a game, even though I grew up there, and I worked at Z-Rock.
Oh, cool.
So my afternoon guy, Johnny, that I mentioned earlier, evening guy, he and I get tickets to a game, but we listen to heavy metal music. We wear black leather jackets and black jeans. That's what we wore, and black T-shirts.
Right.
And they were playing the Raiders.
Oh, cool.
And we didn't know. Yeah. And we walk in wearing all black, and everybody's like, "You're a Raiders fan." I'm like, "No, we're not. We're Chiefs fans." And all of a sudden, the crowd's just kind of giving us crap because they think we're Raiders fans. We don't know any better, but because that's how we dress. Yeah. So, but it's funny. Speaking of the radio tie-in. When 98.9 The Rock was bought by another company, they were the first FM station to ever carry an NFL team. So 101 The Fox in Kansas City, back in the day, they were the first FM station, and they, the general manager who I got to know real well, he was good friends with Carl Peterson. Mm-hmm. He was really a good dude, and he saw that there was something there, and he started the trend where now, I mean, you don't find NFL on the AM dial anymore. They're all FM stations. Yeah. So it was really kind of cool to see. And when they first bought us, we got to go kind of behind the scenes, and I'll never forget this. It was during a game. They opened a door, and on the microphone was Lynn Dawson calling the game. Cool. And I was standing behind him going, "This is amazing." I mean, nice. Touch me, pinch me. I can't believe what I'm seeing right here. Yeah. It was so cool.
It's a franchise has a really unique culture.
It really does.
And they have always embraced me. I'm not from Kansas City. I've gone there several times to see games. And I tell you, I feel like I'm one of the folks out there that have been living there. I made so many friends, gone to so many tailgates. I've only seen them lose once while I've gone there. Every other time I've seen them beat the teams and seen them play the Vikings, the Cowboys, the Bills, all these teams. And it's an amazing experience. And I haven't been there since the renovation. That's a long, long time, but I will be back to see Mahomes.
So I was blessed I got to go back over Christmas, and I saw the Houston game, and I hadn't been in quite a few years. And I would tell you as a general public, if you ever have a chance to go 3-4 hours early, hang out in the parking lot. People are going to invite you to come over to their, I mean, it's just such a great party. Even if you're there for the opposing team, it's a very friendly stadium. Mm-hmm. Of course there's some jarring back and forth, but it's not nasty. It's just a cool environment. But I'm telling you, the tailgate ahead of the game, it's so awesome. There's no other place like it. Go early, go tailgate, and see a Chiefs game because it's an amazing experience.
One of the regulars that they used to show on TV from the fans, a fan favorite, was Arrow Man, where he had all the arrows in the opposing jersey. He was the first guy I ran into in the parking lot, and I was like, I got to take a picture of all this. I stayed with him for about 2 or 3 hours drinking Jell-O shots and eating his barbecue. And by the time I went into the game, I was pretty lit up. But man, I'm telling you, very accommodating, very cool, when
you pregame for 3 or 4 hours, sometimes you're in a pretty good mood by the time you get there. But it's a great experience, man.
All right. Well, the marketing manager, Jeff Berry of Cumulus Albuquerque has been joining us. Jeff, I want to thank you very much for taking the time to do this for us. We really appreciate you coming on. What this show is called, Tattoo, sort of homage to Jim Rome, but to all tattoos. And we talk rock, and we're going to talk music and sports and all kinds of good stuff. And I really want to thank you again for taking the time to do this for me. I appreciate it very much.
Absolutely. It was a blast, man.
All right.
Thanks so much.
Yeah, thank you, Jeff.
Bye.
Once again, Jeff Berry, Marketing Manager, Cumulus Media here in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Stand by. We'll be right back.
beside me, all alone. The empty seems to unwind. Gotta fear, gotta worry of forever soul. Gotta chase me something. This old whiskey and weed can't ride. Gotta chase me something. I look up, I reach up, I'm chasing down the moon. Chasing down the moon. Oh, he's singing the blues. Chasing down the moon. Oh, chasing down the moon. Yeah. Sit here and waste time by crying. We can drink, we can smoke this pain. We can listen to a sad man singing, or we can just look up and know we're under the moon. We're all under the moon. Oh, he's singing the blues. And I'm gonna keep it singing. They're all around and they're all still breathing. Got a song, got some words, got a tune. We'll sing it loud all together, sing it under the moon. We'll sing it under the moon. Oh, he's singing the blues. Oh no, singing under the moon. Oh, this song's for you. chase me or something. So whiskey and weed can't ride. Gotta chase me or something. I look up, I reach up, I'm chasing down the moon.
Anyways, everybody in America or wherever you're watching this show, Tattoo. Joining us is a great fucking band I've known, speaking of cussing, a great band that I've known for a long time, Anesthesia. These dudes are tight. You saw some musical performances by them. I'm going to have them introduce themselves, who they are.
Aaron Bustamante, bass and vocals.
Jake Pacheco, guitar and vocals.
John Singleton, vocals, lead guitar.
Dax Sluhan, drums, no vocals.
Ever.
And
Thank God.
we have to forgive the lead singer and lead vocalist and guitarist of the band and founding member also for being an Ohio State fan. So we won't be talking Ohio State football, but we will be talking Anesthesia. Guys, how long have you guys been together?
24 years. We'll call it 24 years, yeah. Anesthesia as a whole. This fine-looking outfit right here, 14-ish years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you got some newer veterans, I guess, and it's been been a while. But how did you get these two?
We used to play shows collectively. He came from a band called Requiem Mass. I came from a band called Last House on the Left. And if you look up old flyers, you can see us like playing shows collectively. And even I think the self-titled album that we won't talk about. So don't look it up, but the flyer has all of us on there. So it's just a collective of we've just known each other, played the same circuit. It's just kind of how it works.
And we got along.
Yeah, we got along.
It takes a lot. We had just bullshit chemistry, just talking to each other, fooling around with each other.
Fooling around with each other.
Fooling around with guitars. With instruments and such.
Yeah, we not fooling around.
Don't Def Leppard me.
How many albums do you guys have, or how can we find your music, or tell us both?
So we'll call it 6 albums, and they'll call the 7th one, we did a throwbacks thing. So we did there's 2 albums that these gentlemen aren't on, and we recorded some of the old songs that we all like kind of learned together when they got with us. So that's throwbacks EP kind of thing. Spotify, YouTube, Apple, iTunes. Yeah, all the streaming platforms available there. Yep. We do sell some of the discs of the older albums. We have a couple discs left. So anybody that has a CD player in there,
in their
1984 Mazda hatchback, we got a CD player.
T-shirts. People get T-shirts from you guys. Everybody loves the metal T-shirts, especially
We got them at shows. It's we need to get off our ass and put them on a website.
Yeah, that one's one of our recent ones.
What about your latest release? What are you guys pimping right now? Your biggest push?
Our latest release is our Moon EP, our Chasing the Moon EP. So we kind of took a little different direction, and John just brought a couple of demos to the table, and didn't really kind of seem like it was us. But once Jake put some lyrics to it on a demo, I was like, nope, we're doing this. So we ended up knocking out 3 songs and just putting out an EP on them. So
there's actually 4 songs in there.
I'm not on one of them, so it doesn't count. Because I was stuck in Dallas.
He was stuck in Dallas. The song is actually called Sketty Stuck in Dallas because he wasn't around to be honest.
So they were clowning you and all that.
No, but it was cool because John had a couple demos and it's like, loved them. It's like, what do we do with this? And then all of a sudden, vocals came around and it kind of opened up the door to like, hey, there's a couple other ideas. So it's not like we tried to do anything different. It's just, it was sitting there. It's like, all right, let's fucking do something with them now.
So what's next for you guys? What's the next plans? When are you going to start playing, touring, anything crazy like that this next coming year?
Writing still, we have, like he just said, we have backburner stuff. So we just released a kind of style. This next one will be back to heavy. To me, it's going to be groove heavy. He's got a song that can get a little...
I got a song?
He's got a song, too.
I got some words.
It'll be a little heavier, and I guess what people maybe more expect from us. But
well, this guy has like files and files of shit. It's like, oh, okay, there's that. And then I remember I have it too. And then it all starts coming to the table, and then we start.
So I think the back burner EP and just bring stuff out. And then the new year, we'll start with the new year.
here. The cover is going to be an oven with a CD on the back.
There you go. Well, right on. This has been Anesthesia. And now, again, you spell your name with an E. I always get that fucked up. I don't know. Is there another spelling of anesthesia?
I didn't
You
think
spell
so.
it ANESTHESIA.
I need some
Do it that.
anesthesia right now. Yeah, there you go.
We decided to get a name that's nice and long that no metalhead can spell.
Yeah, definitely no metalhead can spell
We
anything.
get called amnesia all the time. That's
Amnesia.
We were printed as Amnesia once.
Oh, shit. I got a t-shirt that was backwards. Dax
Yep.
gave me a shirt that was printed backwards. I still got that fucker.
Dude held it up. He's all, "What's wrong with it?" I'm like, "Dude,
Yeah.
you're just spinning around, man. Look at yourself in the mirror." All right, cool.
Look at yourself in the mirror.
Here, guys, wear this in the
You'll enjoy
mirror.
it.
You're gonna
Knock
look
yourself
great.
out. One last
work.
question. One last question. What do you guys want to tell people about the Albuquerque, New Mexico scene?
It's close. Keep it here. Launchpad. This is the best venue to see live music for decades, months, anything. If you want to see live music, come to the Launchpad. That's what I got.
I'm all for people like looking up music and going out there and putting on the Spotify radio, but there's a lot of really good shit right here in town that a lot of people don't know about. There's
Come
a
out
lot
and
of
see it
bands
live.
a lot of bands that have been around for a long time that, they're going to be the greatest band you've never heard of, kind of thing. So we have a lot of that here. So that's how I
Deep
feel about
stock. Just look into it.
it. Yeah, all different genres.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. The first band on Tattoo. And hopefully not the last. Let's just put it that way. But I want to thank these guys. You can look them up. Again, Spotify, go to their social media, buy a t-shirt, buy a CD, and check these guys out. They fucking rip. They'll make your day good. See ya. Late. Joining us now from Dallas, Texas, is a longtime friend of mine. He's also a musician. He's a Dallas Cowboy fanatic, unfortunately for him, but he's an all-time clone as well. He was one of the first people that were listening to Jim Rome in Albuquerque during the first four lineup, as Albuquerque, as we know, is one of the first four affiliates for Jim Rome. That was put together by Andrew Paul, a guy that went to school also with Jim Rome and was the monkey here for a lot of years. Shout out to him. But I'm talking right now to a guy, like I said, a clone, a Renaissance man, just a cool fucker, guy you'd like to hang out with. Damian Giron from Dallas. How are you doing, brother?
Mike Trujillo, what's up, brother? Good to see you, man.
You and I go back all the way to high school. I think I was a junior when I met you, and you moved into the neighborhood and you started going to Rio Grande High School where I had been going. And we've known each other ever since. We've always got along. I've seen you in very many incarnations of heavy metal bands here in Albuquerque. You're a fantastic fucking musician, but tell us a little bit about yourself.
Oh, well, I was born and raised in Albuquerque till I moved to Texas in 2009. I was like 35 years old, mid-30s. And so I've been here a long time too, so I kind of feel half and half, I feel part Texan now. I get my 505 roots, and I you can tell by the way I talk, I don't even talk Texan. I still sound like a Burqueño.
Nice. Now you play guitar, right? You're a guitarist. We see a couple of your fiddles right there. Some beauties, by the way. You've been playing in primarily heavier types of metal bands, death metal, thrash metal. Ever since I was a kid, you played guitar, and I tried to play and I sucked, but you were really good even at a very young age, I recall. Tell us some of the bands that you've been in, both in New Mexico and who you're playing with right now.
Yeah, if you go back to New Mexico, I'm sure a lot of people remember me from Smashed Hands or End to End.
Right.
Behest. I remember my first band interview ever was with you in Behest. We did for your local show that you were doing back then.
Right.
Since I moved here in Dallas, I played with bands like PC Death Squad out of California. Chemicals. I started Chemicals with Ernie. He's from Albuquerque. And then I played for a little small stint with Agent Still on tour, which was fun, playing some music that I grew up with and loved and enjoyed playing every single note that we played,
Right.
And now I'm playing with the band called Psychiatric Regurgitation. It's We're out of Dallas, so we play more of the heavy stuff, like the death metal.
One of the reasons why I wanted to bring you on this show is because you were the first guy, like I said, that ever turned me on to Jim Rome. And I know you were listening to him a lot prior to me, but I never liked him. I couldn't stand him at first, if you recall. And then just over time, we're in the warehouse and you're playing it every day and you're like, just listen, just listen. And one day he said something and I said, damn, dude, he said exactly, that was perfect. And you said, dude, you're a fucking clone. You have just become a clone and you didn't even fucking know it. Look at you. You like this show. Then, you know me. Once I become a fan of something, I become ridiculously a fanatic. Star Trek, metal, Jim Rome, and I got the Jim Rome tattoo. But how did you
Yeah.
start listening, and what was the appeal for you that you liked about him?
It's kind of like you first did, because my friend Chris Lynn, you remember Chris? Chris used to listen to it, and I used to,
Yeah.
like, he listened to it. I didn't understand it. When you first hear it, you don't understand it, and then one day you just get it. Like, oh yeah, like it could be a take from Rome or from one of the clones or something. You're just like, oh yeah, that's the way I feel, or that's what I would have said. Man, there's just something about the jungle that makes sports that much more interesting. And honestly, it's come to the point now where my day that much more interesting. I like to hear every day what's going on in the jungle, and
Right.
how the show just, in the beginnings, it was kind of raw, compared to today,
Right.
But I remember I was listening in the warehouse back then because, like, he used to make fun of the Chiefs back then, and I remember he kind of didn't like that.
Look, I don't always agree with everything he says. Now he loves the Chiefs. I mean, who doesn't love the Chiefs except for you and the haters? But when you're winning, that's what happens, right? And that's
I'm going for the Chiefs this year.
Good.
I'm rooting for the Chiefs to get their third.
Do it for your health and go for them every year.
Yeah, I'm going to root for them this year, man. We can't have Philly fans all celebrating out there and getting out of hand like they always are. We're tired of that.
So there you go. You're representing your market area right now, Dallas. You're a huge Cowboys fan. And you call into the show. You're under Jamie from Dallas. But you talk about the Cowboys. Why don't you tell us your opinion of the state of how things are right now as a fan?
I've got on the show 3 times this year and didn't get run, didn't get racked, but I didn't get run.
Right.
But, I like the fact that Jim Rome likes to still to this day make me laugh on his takes with us, because everything he says is so true about us. And it's getting to the point here in Dallas where even the local guys on the radio are already kind of not as positive about the stuff they say on the it's just hard to back up what you're seeing and hearing of what's going on over here,
Yeah.
So, I mean, I know we'll always be Cowboys fans, and we've been through it for 30 years now. We've been through the Campos and the Clapper, and now we got Oppenheimer. So I'm just like, I hope we can turn this around before I have to punch my ticket out of here one day, and I know what it feels like to win a Super Bowl again. My gosh.
Hey, man, you guys got, what, 6 under your belt? I remember you guys dominated the 90s, and much like everybody hated you have 5. And much like everybody hates the Chiefs now because they're champions and they're winning, it was like that back then. But I give you credit. You're still a Cowboys fan. I would say this about Schottenheimer. He's got a long, good lineage. Marty, like you know, is one of my all-time favorites because of his years with the Kansas City Chiefs. And I think both Kurt Schottenheimer and Brian Schottenheimer are pretty good coaches. I would hope that things pan out well for them. It just doesn't. I don't have confidence because of that ownership, but we'll see what happens.
That's the problem here, is the ownership. If you've seen the press conference, it was almost like Jerry Jones was the head coach answering all the questions. It was like, that's the problem with this organization here.
I feel for you. Your team has worn the crown before. You know how it feels. It'll be back someday. Maybe it'll be the Chiefs and Cowboys one of these years. We never know. But I'll tell you what. Thank you very much, Damien, for joining me on this. Is there anything that you would like to tell the clones and anything last about your music? How do we get a hold of your music, your latest band, and anything else that we want to view you and your guitar playing, man? Because it's fucking phenomenal. We're going to show some of that right up here on this program.
No, man, I appreciate it, brother. Yeah, you can look this up, a psychiatric regurgitation. It's hard to say, hard to spell, but you'll find it. It's on Spotify, Bandcamp, all the music apps, and it's free. You can listen to our new album. And I did have some final thoughts about this. I'm real happy that the television show. I got to watch the show on TV the other day, and it's great, and the new format. We missed a Smack Off last year.
Yeah,
and I'm kind of sad because usually I like to see who are the kings of smack, because those are the people I look forward to, because it's not easy to get in and call. But the one person I did want to bring up is Vic. Was it Vic? And it was
Vic and NoCal?
V in the P. That guy is in the gutter. You, dude, are in the gutter. I'm going to say this. You're looking up at Paul's dog. You're looking up at Parody Larry. You're looking up at Dino in Vegas to me with them. Like 5th grade, I just learned how to cuss takes. Like, grow up. Come on, bro. Do better.
You're a fucking clone, and you rock. Thank you very much for taking the time to do this for me. Once again, Damien in Dallas, originally from Albuquerque, right?
So I started listening on the Sports Animal, original 4 affiliate.
First 4 affiliates, Damien, and now a caller from Dallas. Thank you, man, for representing Clone Nation. It was a lot of fun. Take care.
Later, guys.
All right, everybody, we are going to talk sports. Yes, that's what we do here. We talk sports, we talk music, we talk crap, we talk nothing at all. But joining me right now are 2 hosts from an Albuquerque program on the Sports Animal. It's entitled Tailgate Talk. It airs Sunday mornings at 8 o'clock. And joining me right now are Dale Cornelius and Isaiah Johnson. Gentlemen, thank you for joining us on Tattoo.
Oh, thank you for having us. Tattoo. I like that.
Yeah,
of course, man.
Yeah, dedicated to all things tattoo and all those crazy things related. Just kind of a talk crap kind of show. But
love it.
Yeah, it's great to have you guys on, man. I know that you have been doing this show for not too long, but it is on AM 610, The Sports Animal, as well as 95.9 FM, The Sports Animal, part of our Cumulus cluster, and of course the station that carries the Jim Rome Show. But gentlemen, introduce yourselves. We'll start with you, Dale. Tell us a little bit about yourself and how long you've been working in sports radio and such.
So I'm Dale Cornelius. I came down here from Denver. I actually worked at 104.3 The Fan. That's how I started off sports talk radio. I've actually done other kinds of talk radio and music, things of that nature, but sports has always been my main number one attraction. So really why I'm in radio is things like the Jim Rome Show, just listening to Smack Off, hearing people talk in long-form interviews. So I've listened to it my whole life. I've been in it about 5 years, and honestly, there's nothing better than talking sports.
How about yourself, Isaiah?
All right, so my name's Isaiah Johnson, and for me, kind of likewise with Dale, I've been listening to it for a long time. I know I'm only 27, so it may not seem like I have that much of a history in sports radio, but I know every Sunday morning I drive an hour to church with my dad, and every single Sunday we just listen to sports talk. If we got into the car, he'd put on a sports talk on his phone, even if it was just playing out of his phone or playing through the car speakers. So, switching over into sports talk just is so natural for me because I always would talk sports at school with my friends. I didn't care about math or science. I just cared about what Kobe or Tony Romo was going to do and to give me some ammunition. So it's been a super smooth transition, and I'm very lucky to be in this position, especially this early.
Now, you gentlemen wear other hats here at Cumulus. I know, Dale, you do some work over at KKOB, which is the mothership, as they call it, or a flag station, Talk News Radio, KKOB. And then you also work there as well, producing BV's show. That would be Brandon Vogt and his program that airs also on KKOB. But you also do work on the Sports Animal. Besides your program, you work on as a producer for 2 Men On, and you've worked as a producer for the opening drive.
Correct. So that's how I started out here.
Yeah, you guys got a lot going on.
Yeah. Talking politics and local events is great, but being able to open up on the weekend and just go 100% sports, it's just such a nice release. And it's like I wake up at 4 o'clock every morning to go run a talk show, and it's great, but there's just something special about talking sports, talking about your favorite teams. And actually, we don't even limit it to sports.
Yeah.
Sometimes we're talking music, food, what's going on around the city, cool concerts. Like, It really is
cool.
a tailgate. You know,
Yeah.
it's when you go to the tailgate, you're eating food, you're hanging out with your buddies, you're having beers, you're doing what you're doing. It's not all about the game that's about to be played, although it somewhat is, but we just talk life. You know, it's a fun couple hours to start off a Sunday.
Yeah, we know why everyone's there. It's for the game, but you also go in to talk sports as well. And like Dale said also, like on KKOB, it's cool, right? Just because you know that is the stage, that's the big time station. And as a producer, I usually try and stay out of a lot of those topics because I was brought into the station for sports. So when it comes to a lot of the politics, I'll keep quiet, but you learn a lot. Like you learn a whole bunch being over there in KKOB. And then just being around Brandon Vogt, and I'm sure DC being around Bob Clark, or even Two Men On and the opening drive, it also kind of shapes you as a host, and you have an understanding of how things are supposed to sound. So it's all beneficial.
Tell us about the program. How long has it been together, and how did you guys decide to put it together?
We started during preseason of the NFL 2024 season. We started about 2 weeks before kickoff, and we've been every Sunday since then.
Yeah. Well, we had the plan was put in motion probably in June, but it actually got going in August. I've been telling BV for a couple months, like, yeah, I really want to start a talk show. Like, I know I just got here, but I promise I've been able to do this for a long time, and I have the motor to be able to run one. And he told me he'd think about it. And then one day he came up to me and he was like, have you met Dale Cornelius, DC? I was like, I've met him a couple times, but we haven't really spoken much. And he was like, DC also wants to start an NFL show as well. So I think you guys would be good for it. So me and DC linked up. And then from that point on, like, we felt that it was going to be a great idea.
It was kind of funny because we essentially had the same idea. We pitched them both at essentially the same time, and it just kind of came together naturally. And that's one thing about our show. You'll notice, like, we're hanging out, it's like hanging out at a bar or something with some buddies. It's not serious. It's a good time type of show. And that's part of the energy that we bring to it. It's, you can be yourself at Tailgate Talk.
Just no alcohol involved. It's illegal.
Till later, right?
Yes,
Speaking of tailgates, I like the name of the show. And of course, big Chiefs fan, been to Kansas City and Arrowhead a million times, been there and experienced the tailgates. What are some of the best tailgates that you guys have been?
So I went to Arrowhead one time, and that was a great tailgate. And I went there as the Cowboys Chiefs. You guys beat us. It was 1910, I think. It was 2021, I believe, because it was COVID. And I was upset because I was like, if I want to see the Chiefs beat us, I want to see 40 points or something like that. But it was a gritty game. Neither team had their best game. But that was a pretty fun tailgate. The best tailgates, though, it's got to date back to high school for me, just because I was around everyone I knew. And, when you're a sophomore, freshman, and you get to, prepare to see people that that you grew up with play football, there's like a different energy. But outside of that, I've been to like a few sports events, but it was with my dad. And he's a very reserved person, so there was no partying or tailgating that was going to go on there. So it's yet to be discovered.
How about you, Dale?
So I've been to Arrowhead many, many times, and you are right. That is among the top tailgate environments. There's no way you can argue against that. I'm a big-time Bronco fan. There's really no tailgating there. They have very limited parking lot space, so it's kind of different. I think about it, honestly, Miller Park in Milwaukee for baseball was a really good time, but Busch Stadium, that entire downtown St. Louis for tailgating, top notch.
Yeah.
Top notch.
Something about Missouri, man. Those people like to really get down and dirty when it comes to partying before the games. And it's not just, getting barbecue, but I mean, people will give you shots. I remember I was talking to Jeff Barry, and they had the guy that used to be the man that had the arrow man. That's what they would call him. He'd have all the arrows in every opposing jersey. Well, he was out there tailgating the first time I got to KC, the first time I've ever been there for a game, and he had a whole table laid of shots, really? Jello shots, and he just said, have at them. Have as many as you want. So needless to say, I just partied with him all day. It was a lot of fun.
So do you eat Jello anymore after that?
Yeah, man, I don't like Jello shots anymore.
I wouldn't either.
And they take forever to get any kind of real effect. I don't know about you, man, but it takes like about a half an hour, and then
it smacks you all at once.
Yeah, then you feel sick from whatever the alcohol's in
all
there,
the
and
sugar.
then the Jello, and then you're like hurling later on, man.
Yeah.
I'm all right. I'm all right without that stuff. But Tailgate Talk, again, is the name of the show. Sunday mornings, 8 p.m. right here on The Sports Animal. Well, not right here on The Sports Animal, but on 610 a.m., 95.9 FM, The Sports Animal here in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Wanted to ask you guys individually a question, a topic that might be near and dear to you and you might have a strong opinion about. And I'll start with you, Dale. Of course, the biggest topic in the NFL not only is the Kansas City Chiefs and the run they're making and all the great quarterbacks and all of the good stuff that's happening, but it's been kind of mired by this talk of the officiating. I have been saying and bitching about the officiating for a long time. When I was doing a show on the Sports Animal with Michael Carlisle called The Sports Bar, I would go in every week bitching about it. It wasn't only against the Chiefs or for them. It was all around. What do you think they can do about that?
They can hire full-time referees and officials. I feel strongly that a league worth as much as the NFL, which could be over $100 billion, should have full-time officials. They should even consider teaming up with the NCAA to have a program designed specifically to learn how to officiate at the NFL level. Because if you have part-timers that have other interests, it is impossible to give 100% of your effort towards officiating in football games. It just is. So get full-time officials, get people dedicated to the craft who have been educated in that, and it will start to turn things around. I will say this, though. Fixing a football game, you're talking about hundreds of people. It's just not feasible. It's easy to talk about. All the bad calls you see, there's calls that they're not showing you as well, you know? And so things have a way of evening themselves out, but if you're only watching the TV, you're only seeing what they want you to see. And you can form that opinion, but getting full-time referees, getting full-time officials, that would be a very good start.
I was like of the opinion that, all right, maybe it's time to automatize it and have robots instead of humans on the field. Not robots, but some sort of officiating that doesn't put it in man's hand. But then you're going to still get people bitching, complaining, and finding some way to blame something for a fix. They'll say, well, who programs those robots? They can easily program.
I was just going to say, you have a robot that's going to put their foot out and stop a kick return like Mike Tomlin.
Yeah, you never know.
And right now, European soccer is actually facing that because they have automated a lot of the refereeing, and they're actually turning back to human referees because of that issue. So there's no fix that's a guarantee, because I actually thought that as well. Like, why don't we have 120 cameras at every game anyway? Like, why don't we just have a computer do it?
Make it easy, right?
It's not that easy, though.
Yeah, that's the tricky part of the game. And like I always tell everybody, when you're watching a game, this is real time in the universe, what's happening. And you don't know how it's going to change, dictate. You don't know. It's not easy to call a bang play correctly. It's just simply what it is. And hopefully it does get better. And hopefully they do hear the cries of the consumers, of the fans, and say, hey, all right, we are going to do our best to make sure that we're doing our bit, that it's a fair game and that nobody's benefiting or not benefiting from these calls.
Well, and fair is such an important point because you have so much gambling interest now, and the NFL has fully embraced it. So with that being such a major part of the game at this point, it has to be fair. You can't have it in question.
Yeah.
That's the only way it really moves forward and continues this momentum it builds every year.
Isaiah, you're a big Dallas Cowboys fan. I always see you with your jersey, and you and I talk about it quite a bit. How did you become a Dallas Cowboys fan, and what do you think of the state of the Cowboys is? I mean, I know that's kind of an easy question to ask, and it's easy to blow it up, but I mean, new regime in place, is anything going to change for the better for that team?
So the story behind me being a Cowboys fan, especially being from Illinois, aren't you a Bears fan? Like that. That's the last team I'll be a fan of because I lived in Illinois. So it's like everyone was a Packers fan. So it was, you got sick of being around all those guys. But my dad's a huge Cowboys fan. Growing up, his big brother was a Steelers fan. So in the 80s, that's a big deal. Those guys are rivals. So he was passionate about the Cowboys. And the first game I ever watched was the game where Romo botched the snap versus Seahawks. So I started out at rock bottom.
What a way to start.
So that's why I'm a little numb to a lot of things that go on already, because I came in to the fandom seeing probably the most traumatic moment in franchise history outside of Leon Lett. But right now, the franchise... They're in a tough spot. They're in a really tough spot because they've now put themselves in a position where if they don't win the Super Bowl, all the haters are right and all the Cowboys fans are wrong. So it's really Super Bowl or bust for a team that hasn't really given us a reason as of right now to think they'll be there. So it's a slow grind. I don't want to say it's a rebuild. They need to understand that the fans matter. And the fans right now are very, very upset with the way the team's being ran. It's not as simple as Jerry Jones leaving and everything will be easy, because I believe Stephen Jones is worse. So when Jerry, whenever he leaves, Stephen Jones is going to take over, and it could be worse. So it's not as simple as just getting rid of Jerry. The team's not going to get sold. The fans have to stop buying the merchandise. Right now, that's the only way we can get through to Jerry Jones to run this team like he did in the 90s. The merchandise has got to go down. The ticket sales have got to go down. Season tickets have got to be refunded, or, things like that have to affect the bottom line.
Wow, so you're suggesting almost somewhat of a fan boycott to demand better, because they got the money, they've got the resources, they've got the name, they've got everything in place, but they've also got the one thing that nobody wants, and that's a meddlesome owner. Mm-hmm. And I've watched that for decades with Al Davis. As a Chiefs fan, I've watched how he destroyed a once proud franchise, one that he built himself, coached, owned, everything from the old AFL days. I kind of like that, but I just don't see that happening.
And I don't blame you, because they haven't won in 30 years, but you look at their numbers and they've made money every single year. They keep continuously topping the charts as the most valuable franchise in the whole world.
Yeah, the Forbes top. They're number one in Forbes almost every year.
And that includes soccer teams who have ridiculously huge fan bases. That includes all types of different places. And they still are at the top. So Jerry, he said it in the last press conference. A guy asked him, Jerry, your fans have been super, super patient with you. And how do you plan on, treating them in the future? And he says, you hit the nail on the head. They've been super, super patient, and I can't thank them enough for all their support and patience over this time period. And in my mind, basically, thank you for continuously putting you guys at the top of the market while you haven't won anything. So why change?
The carrot, the proverbial carrot on the fishing pole. You know what I mean? That's kind of what it's like. Well, gentlemen, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you guys on our inaugural streaming, whatever you want to call it, pilot tattoo. Hopefully we can work several more of these, and we'll continue to have you guys on, give us updates on what's happening with your program, yourselves, and most of all, what's happening in sports. Once again, joined by Dale Cornelius and Isaiah Johnson from Tailgate Talk on The Sports Animal, AM 610, 95.9 FM here in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Is there anything that I didn't ask you guys that you would like to sign off with?
No, I think I'm a big Cowboys guy. I got to talk about the Cowboys. Thanks for having me on.
Sure.
As far as tattoos, what do you think about this idea? So I've been thinking about a new tattoo I want. And I came up with the idea of, I used to walk up the street to get after school. I'd get off the school bus and I'd walk up the street. And no matter what happened at school, there'd always be that point where I'd see my house in the distance, and then I'd walk up to it, and then I'd turn right and walk to my driveway to the front door. And I've really thought about just having a snapshot of that image of my front yard, like when I first see my house.
I dig it.
And get that tatted somewhere. Just because that's when I was like, okay, it's finally over. I'm home. Like, I'm here.
Light at the end of the tunnel.
Light at the end of the tunnel. And I miss home. Of course, I'm from Illinois. So I've thought about getting that tattoo. I got to find a place somewhere to do it.
That's a cool spot.
That's what we talk about a tattoo is why you get the tattoo you want. It doesn't have to be anything but what your mind and body and heart tell you that it represents to you. But I think that's a great representation of what getting a tattoo is.
Yes.
To pay homage to your home and to be a little bit closer to it, even though physically you're not there.
Yes.
How about yourself, Dale? Anything else?
It's got a cool leg tat.
I feel like I should have taken my shirt off or something. I've got them all over. But I really appreciate you having us. And we should do this again. Maybe we do need to talk tattoos because I got some history.
All right. Sounds good. All right. I want to thank you all. Speaking of Dallas Cowboys, we have still another guest straight out of the Metroplex. He's going to join us on Zoom, and he's going to talk a little bit about his history with the Jim Rome Show, as well as his love and maybe hate for the Dallas Cowboys right now. Take it easy.